I swore I just heard the train go by. Oh, yep, there he is. You kind of see him in the distance. Either way, top of the morning to you laddies. My name is Buck, and welcome to another modding tutorial. This is going to be a longer one because I'm going to do a mixture of two things in this video. One, I'm going to show you guys how to install the lighting system from just Giants software stuff themselves. Like, if you go into certain folders, Giants has already shared a folder to a lot of in-game lights that you can put into your folders. There's multiple ways you can script them, but I find this certain way the easiest because it is the most versatile. You can change certain things. It works out to make it easy. But the other thing that we're going to be doing today is also learning how to do sequential lights. Now, I do not have a truck in here right now. I don't have my 2020 that has the sequential lights on the back end of the bed, but I do have this edit of the Big Tex trailer, but I changed it to a single rear wheel Big Tex. This still does have the regular lighting system in the rear of just a basic blinker. It's still the same lights. I didn't change any of that. But this Prairie Bale trailer, which was back in 17, that all you have to do is tilt the thing to the sides and then the bales fall off. This trailer needs a little bit of love into it. I'm not gonna. This is literally just a. The heck? Okay. But this entire thing had its lighting system. I just went and looked in the editor, which we're going to go do. We're going to add the lighting system to this, but we're also going to add the sequential lights. We're going to show you guys how to add, like, actual lights, so you guys don't have to worry about the old 17 lighting system, which is what this trailer had. I'll bring you guys all into the editor. This truck, I got this a long time ago. This is not anybody's something special. It's private, though. I don't know. I haven't touched with that truck in a while. But either way, let's get right into the video. So before we start this part of the video, I do want to say that this is kind of a slightly more advanced tutorial since I am teaching how to install an entire light system, completely redoing it. Most people, this is where my end of the scripting comes in, because the way I write these scripts is I'll go into a vehicle that already has the same lighting system style, like the way it was scripted. I'll take that script and I'll put it in this mod, and then I'll rewire it to what this vehicle is. But since we don't have anything, since this is a trailer and it doesn't have any extra cameras, we can just create a light up in the top left-hand corner. Ay caramba, this thing's going nuts. We can create a light, but we got to make sure to delete this once we get it done, because it's easier to use the light to see around. But either way, how we're going to start out with this is we need to find the lighting system, which will open up our drop-down here. And you guys can read down the line here. This one's kind of a little bit less unorganized. But as you guys can see, the light path is hidden because it's still the old-fashioned FS17 lighting system with all those, I think they call them, I'm not going to say that because of reasons. But as you guys can see, it is the old-fashioned lighting system that nobody wants. So what we're going to do is completely delete this entire thing. Yes, I understand. I am completely deleting it, yes. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new transform group by going up here to the create tab on your main thing, transform, blah, and it shows down here. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of said transform group to rename some new lighting paths. So we got Control D makes it duplicate, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way, that should be enough. And we'll rename these quick to all the different styles of lights, so give me just a second. And there we go. So we got all of our main, and I want to make sure I save this first because Giants editor is known to crash sometimes. So what we'll do is we'll select all those by clicking the top one, pressing Control and Shift at the same time, and clicking the bottom, and then we can select all those. Control X to cut it, and then we will place by doing Control V, and now we have all of our different transform groups in here. So now what we have to do is I'll bring over the scripting here. Let me bring this over. As you can see, this in the way this thing was scripting, I'm running Notepad++. It's really easy to see all this stuff. Apparently this was scripted like this, so maybe I don't have to do the thing? No? Okay. Well, give me just a second and we'll get this figured out to where I'm going to get a completely new light script. Alright, we got it. So from my little utility trailer that I have, whatever it was, it's not the one that people have seen on Facebook of the double axle. That mod I have to redo. It's something all corrupted. But either way, this is the lighting system from my from my little thing. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take all of this. If anything, I can just find a vehicle that has one of these lighting things. My 2020 Ford, if you guys haven't noticed it, it does have the same lighting system. I will link this down in the, I'll put this down in the description. It'll just be a chunk of lights that, whatever it was, you just rewire this. The real lights and everything else, because this trailer doesn't have that, we can get rid of those unless I'm completely blind. But we're just going to replace this entire light system with fresh code. And boom, there's the new lights. And because this has the state 1, 2, 3, whatever it was, that's just because that's what the trucks had. I think I left that in there on accident, but let me check in the editor if this thing even has real lights, which I don't think it does. No, it does not. Okay. So what we're going to do is we can just take out the real lights right now because I don't need them. And default lights, these are your running lights. So what we're going to do is, because this shader node right now is reading run 1, run 2, all we need to do once we install a light is over here in the, we'll click on this, it says index path. We're going to need to copy that file path and place it here. The only reason that it's saying running 1, running 2 is because the way some people script this is called i3D mapping, which is pretty much an index at the very bottom that pretty much does the exact same thing as what would be doing this. It's just more organized so you can find stuff easier. I prefer to do it this way because I just feel it's easier. But either way, let's get into installing some of the lights. So the big thing you're going to need to know when it comes to installing these lights is that you're going to have to go through your Farming Simulator directory where you installed the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to install just a simple brake light here. So we're going to go over here, we're going to press File, Import, and because I have to kind of find out where mine is, I have to see here. We're going to go, my game's installed through Steam, which that's my B drive one, which, wrong one. So wherever your game's installed, I reinstalled mine back into my C drive, so I had some issues with it when because the way I installed it was on this. So either way, we're going to go Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Farming Sim 19, that's a different version, I don't know why it said 2019. Data, Shared, Assets, Lights, and Lizard. And what it'll show you is a bunch of different i3D files that you have no idea is whatever they look like. So give me just a second, and what we'll do is we will open up another folder. So what we need to do now is we're going to go same thing. This is not NGE, this is just a basic folder. So again, do the same thing. Steam Apps, Common, 19, Data, Shared, Assets, Lights, Lizard, and it'll say all lights PNG. You click on this and it'll bring up a picture of all the lights that are in that folder. And each one of them has a name, so you guys can find out which lights are which. It's very simple. The most common ones used on trailers right now are the rear light oval LEDs. These ones right here. That are the rear light ovals, which it's either you get LEDs or you get like regular ovals. A lot of people just make lights out of what the models they use. But since I don't necessarily have a couple said plugins, sometimes for trailers, I'll just use these, which are just as effective, and I can do a lot of cooler stuff with them. I usually use these ones, rear light circle orange, or these ones right here, rear light circle orange 02. Those are what I use for my sequentials. But what we're going to do is, because this trailer requires what would be pretty much, it's an older style or trailer, we're going to do the rear light oval red 01. So we're going to go in here. And we're going to go to R's until we get to the L's, rear light. We need to look for oval. Rear light oval, that's LEDs. Rear light oval orange. And rear light oval red, is it 01 or 02? It is 01. Okay, so rear light oval red 01. We'll double click that file and it'll bring it into the editor. What should happen is bingo, it's right there. So now what we need to do is, because this will be a mixture of brake lights and running lights, which I might as well just delete the running light one because brake lights can be duplicated as the same thing. We will Control X, and we're going to drop this in our brake file. And then what we're going to do is we are going to raise it up and position it wherever the heck we want, because that's the fun part about this. So I'll get this all positioned, and then I'll let you guys know once we get back. And we are back. But I noticed there was a slight error when it came to the recording part. I actually got all the lights and everything done, scripting done, and then I realized that the second I said be right back, yeah, I hit my button on my stream side that brought up a different screen, so literally I was just talking and it said be right back the entire time. So forgive me, I'll redo some of this stuff, so it might not make a whole lot of sense, but I'll go from wherever it was. So last time you guys saw the picture, we had the one brake light. I'll just get those up here. Give me just a second. Get the light back here. We had the two brake lights. We got our brake lights placed. They're all ready to go. I did take the dirt shader off, which is right in here. Every time you go onto a piece of light, no matter what part it is, if you scroll down here to your custom shaders tab, which is in your material editing tab, you'll see color mask, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Because this is not the actual light, this is the housing that goes around it. Because this is actually the part of the housing that goes around it, we do not need to worry about it too much as blah, blah, blah. Either way, this RDT, it's your dirt and your wear. Just set all that stuff to 0 so it looks nice. And the way I also have it is if you guys can tell when I zoom in, I think I can't tell if I did this, but I said if it looks blurry, go into your Windows tab and click on this Post FX Editing. It'll bring up another tab below your materials on the right side. Uncheck that box and it'll make everything look clear and not blurry, and you can get as close as you want until you can't like zoom in anymore. But either way, that's how you do that. Once we got into the scripting, how this is going to look is I'll bring up one of the old models that I had. We get to our light section, which I'll link this light system down here in the description, this entire from lights to lights, so that way you guys can do this yourself. The only thing you're going to need to do is just every single time you'll have to replace this right here within the parentheses. Do not change anything outside of the parentheses unless you want this. Anything in these parentheses you guys can change. But when it comes to this, it would look something like this. I'll zoom in here so you guys can see. It's a worded one because the way some people do this is they'll do I3D mapping at the very bottom, which in other words is just an index that will show the... Give me a second. They'll do I3D mapping right here. This entire thing is pretty much an index path that leads to that exact same thing. So in my books, yes, that is nicer for organization, but this is almost faster and easier to do, and you're not duplicating your work. So just changing the 0 greater than whatever within those parentheses, that will change your lights. The way the brake lights are configured are, the entire group is right here. If we click on this, I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to backtrack from what I did. You guys already saw the way you imported it. All these lights are imported the same way except the turn signals. I'll go over that one again just so that way I can make sure I get that part right. But if we click on our brake light group, and we've already positioned these to the position where we want them to, it is 0 greater than 20, whatever it is, 1, 0. That is the brake lights, in other words, housing. That's not the lights. If we click on the inner part static, that is the inside part of the light. This is going to be our running light. So this configuration right here, 0 greater than 21, 0, 0, we'll copy that index, and we'll go into our lights. And where it says default lights, those are our running lights. Now where it says lights and then states, this is when you click on your lights how many times this thing will go. Because of the fact we only really have 0, we can get rid of these ones, but if you have like work lights that you want to install on trailers, that's where this comes into play when it comes to like work lights. It's this right here, default lights, these are your running lights. So that said line would go right in here over the top of that line, creating that light be already wired. Light types, this would be how many times it takes for you to click your light button for this light to engage. Because this will be like our running lights, the second we turn on our lights, this light will run, which will be the inside part of this light. But when it comes to the brake lights, and these are the only lights that I do this with, the rest of them all only light up the outside shell. The rest of them, the inside has nothing to do with it unless it's something particular that I'm working with. But it's the exact same thing. On the index path, it goes from 2100 to 2101. You copy that file, and you take that one down to the brake lights, and you paste it in there. Now, the intensity of your lights can also vary. That is how bright the light will light up. When you go into your code right here in your editor, you'll scroll down to custom shaders, and it will say static light for these parts that are lights. If you scroll further down, there's two things: light control and blink offset. Blink offset is what we're going to be doing for turn signals. As you can see, it says 001. The turn signals will also be 001 when it comes to their lights, but because of the way Giants did this, you can't just change something in here to make this red light blink. This would be nice to have this red light as a blinker, but it would need to be taken in and redone to a different, in other words, material texture to light this up one as red and make it a turn signal. But how we can do this is in the light control, the very first box, if we set it to 60 and turn on our post-FX editing, that's what our brake light would look like if it turned on. It's the nice new 19 lights. If we take that off, then you got the story. The inside light, it does the exact same thing, but when we do our turn signals, it will blink. But because this is the brake light, which is the outside shell, we have two lights, so make sure both inner ones, so 2100 and 2110. So those are both, again, just make sure you have the correct index for each one. Your brake light will just be, again, you just need to pretty much take whatever light. So long story short, all you need to do is take this, whatever one's going to be your running light, copy that index, put that in your default light, set the light type that you want it to, most likely it'll be 0, and then your intensity, I keep mine at 45, so that way when these light up and then the brake lights light up, the brake lights make it look like the light is getting brighter. So that's how that's done. The reverse lights are the exact same way. You import the light that you want out of the picture that you need, which is going to be our white brake lights, which is pretty much a white light. And it's the exact same thing, except we only take the light static, the outside part of the light. We don't do anything with the inside, unless you want to make it a duplicated light to make it brighter. I don't know. But either way, this copy right here, 2201, that's down here in the reverse light section, 2201, intensity 45. For the white light, you don't necessarily need that one to be as bright because it'll light up anyway. Even if you had it at 2, it would still be decently bright, but 45 is usually a really good one for those. We'll save this quick because we did mess up some stuff when we rearranged some things. I did put the turn signal brackets into a group by themselves, so that way it's easier to get them. But when it comes to the turn lights, this is where the magic happens. So to do the lights, we're gonna create a transform group here. So we're just gonna make this example. Because we already have the brake lights done, and because we already have all the lighting systems done, what we're gonna do is, if this was our turn signal bracket, say this is our turn signal left. Example, turn left. How we would do this is we do the exact same thing we just did. We would go into our picture gallery here, and like I said, I'm going to be using these. Rear light circle orange 02. We'll go into here, import, blah, blah, blah. We'll find that light, rear light circle orange 02. We will control X that into the group here. We'll just hide our turn signal lefts, but we're going to use their coordinates so that way we can have the lights be in the same position. Maybe we will have to put this in here. So we'll put this group within our lights just so that way we can have it. Okay, there we go. So make sure that your light is placed wherever the heck you want it. I'm going to take off the dirt shader again. Like it said right here, that's just the housing on the outside. Once we open it up, there's more on the inside. Take off the dirts on that because it's just easier. To me, it's just easier to work with it when it looks clean. The body I'm not doing anything with. That's really bugging me, but we'll rotate that to 90. And we'll do 0.9 and 0.9 because that's what I had for the other ones. And because this light is now in place, we have this exactly where we had the other one. What we'll do now is, so you guys can see this, is down here again in the blink offset, it's 001. To make the sequentials, this is very, very important. The light control we're going to set to 60 so you guys can see that this thing does blink. But to get the lights to be sequential, we need to do one very important step. To make these said turn signals blink in a sequential pattern, you can duplicate this light to put it on the other side. These lights, when it comes to the other turn left group, they're all in the same... They're all the exact same lights, but the left side is the right side is a duplicate of the left side when it comes to the positioning. Some mods you might have to adjust it just a little bit, but the right side is literally the left side but duplicated over after I installed the said light. What we need to do to make sure these things actually blink like they're sequential is if you turn this on and you duplicate it and try to make it its own thing, because I remember this is 0.35, so that's where the next light is. If I turn on the turn light from here and blah, they're both going to light up and blink at the same time. You don't want that. You want it to be its own blinking light. So we're going to turn on post-FX editing because it looks better when it blinks. But what we need to do is we're going to turn this light scale up to 60. So that way it's technically already in position, done. It's different than if I imported a new light. Now what we need to do is we need to go and import a second light. So the code reads it as a separate light. We cannot have these lights be sitting in the exact same... It can't be duplicated, is what I'm saying. You can't have the same light be put... It can be the same... Okay. Long story short, we cannot have the same light be made to blink in a separate pattern. We have to have separate lights in separate positions. So if I set this light, because this is a newly imported light, the way this thing would show if we did not have, if these two were linked together, everything I did to one would do it to the other. Because this is now a separate light, meaning if we already had this group lit up, these two would be synced, these two would be synced, and then so on and so forth until we get to the end. Because now that we have it separate, we can maneuver it to make it do what we want. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to do -90. And then we're going to do 0.9. 0.9. And we're going to take off the dirt. Because, again, I like to work with no dirt. That's up to you guys. If you want to leave it dirty, you can. It doesn't matter in game. And once we get that clean, as you guys can see, it's still going to blink when I turn it on. If I turn this up to 60, if I turn that up to 60, oh wow, they still blink together. Because we have to do one thing. This is where the blink offset comes in. This middle number you have to change to the next number up. So 0 will then go to 1. If you put that at 1, all of a sudden, they blink opposite of each other. And if you keep going with these said lights, because now that we got the concept behind that, you have to make sure that the light groups are separate. But once you start syncing them together, all the lights then will be coming into play. Because the left is synced with the right, if I turn on one, as soon as I turn these things on, when it gets into game, you guys are also probably going to get that message. Just hit OK, it's fine. Because all the lights are now synced, when we get into game and we turn on the turn signals, we will have sequential lights. And it also makes it kind of look like the edge is a regular old-fashioned caution lights, like the actual blinkers. But the second you see the middle of the trailer and seeing that the middle part's sequential and that it's part of the pattern, it makes it really cool. So once you guys get all done with these lights, all you need to do is shut off the light controls. So this one went all the way up to 3 in the blink offset because I put one on the outside. But just make sure you turn off the light control to make sure that way it won't... And these things won't link together again. Like, once you have these separate, these are technically 4 different lights, and then these are just 4 clones of these ones. So in reality, there's only 4 lights in this actual thing that were imported, but the other 4 were duplicated and swapped over to the other side. In other words, mirrored. But that is the biggest thing you guys have to know, is that you have to import a new light every time you want to make a new part of the sequential pattern. I cannot stress that enough. I know that it's probably a bit confusing, but that's the literal best way I can explain it. It's super simple. It's almost as simple. It's so simple that if you don't get it, it really will make you mad, because it's honestly a really easy process. It's just that you have to take it really carefully. So, and there's nothing different in the code when it comes to scripting these turn signals. Turn light left, it's scripted like every other turn signal. Like this down here, okay, don't mind this. This is really confusing. But the turn signals for the truck, for my 2020, yes, this might be confusing, but all of these turn signal lights are for like flatbeds and everything else. They all blink at the same time. There is no difference between that code and this code right here when it comes to the turn lights. There's the turn lights, there's the turn lights. Turn light left, turn light right. These are all different beds. There is nothing different in the scripting besides the intensity that you make those lights. Everything is done in the editor. So that's pretty much the thing. That's pretty much all you need to do with this. So what we can do now that we got all the lights done, all of them are installed, we'll just go over a quick little thing about how we did it, what we did, and what we needed to do. So the first thing that you'll need to do, find where your game's directory is. Mine's installed through the C drive and through Steam. So your file folders will go Steam, program files, x64 is most likely where that's going to start from your main drive. And then you'll go to Steam, Steam apps, Common, Farming Simulator 19 or 2019, whichever the way it was installed on the name. And then you'll go into Data, Shared, Attributes, Lights, Lizard, and then you guys can look at the picture, and then you'll have the entire photo of all the lights. So that's going to be the way to find all that stuff. And then again, just whatever light that you want to, in other words, use, the name on the picture is the name of the i3D file, except at the end it says .i3D. Import that light into your mod, and because this is running through Giants, if you zip it up and save it, it will not lose textures or anything else because it is wired through Giants themselves. You will not have to worry about that. All you need to do is the scripting and positioning of these lights. And that's as basic as it goes when it comes to all the lights. Literally, if you only put in one light from every single brand, if you put in one light from every single category of running, brakes, and reverse, you would not have to do any of the importing of extra lights. It would just be import it once, script it once, save it, and if you had a little difficulty because you messed up a number, that's fine. Just go back in there and just keep searching until you get it. But what I'm going to do is we'll zip this file up, we'll take it into game, and I'll show you guys that it was working. I did see that, and I noticed that my lights were off because I did something when it came to scripting. But either way, I'll zip this up, and I'll put this in game. This is not going to be a public mod. I literally downloaded that thing, like I said, this morning, just to try and do this. So we'll get right into the game, and I will see you all in just a second. And last thing, be sure to delete the light that you installed. Be sure to delete. Otherwise, it'll cause issues. Save, blah, zip the folder up, drop it in your mods folder. And after a fairly decent time frame between now and whenever I got it, as you guys can all see, the lights have been placed. I forgot there was technically like the hazard strips underneath it, so that is a little bit of an issue. I will need to scooch that light out a bit, as I forgot that this thing kind of wasn't completely symmetrical from one side to the other, so that's not bad. That's what I mean. You kind of have to work with the way the lights are placed. But as you guys can all see, once we hop into the truck, I don't necessarily have the no collision camera, so I can't necessarily show too close. But if we turn on the brake light, if we turn on the running lights of the truck, the inside lights turn on in the back. Once we turn off the lights, those turn off. When we turn on our turn signals, behold, we have the sequentials. We turn on the right, sequentials blink over there. We turn on the hazards, and then they blink side to side. We turn on the truck and back up. Reverse lights will pop on. And then brake lights when we do the brakes. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for coming and checking out the video. be sure to like and subscribe down below. Smash that like button as well as hit that subscribe button. Possibly ring that little bell for notifications to notify when I get post. Be sure to check out the Boomstick Club with all the up-to-date content from me and the gang. You all know who's in it. I do apologize if this was a little bit of a more confusing video, as I literally did the entire video and then realized that it didn't really record from like a certain part on, so I tried to pick up where I left off. I hope the explanation was in a simple manner, the best I could, to explain how to do the lighting system. The biggest part was how to do the lights, so you guys can at least make your own lighting systems if you want. This does not apply to console because of the fact that console does not allow these kinds of modifications to be done on said platform. But if you do have a PC and you want to learn how to do some moddings to try and at least get some sort of new lighting system of the FS19 light system, be sure to try this system out, as I hope you do find it at least a bit useful. This is probably the best way I'm going to be able to describe it, so until next time, I will see you all later. Stay safe, and keep modding and keep going, because it'll be fun once you find it out. I'll see you all next time. Rattleman out. Peace.